Tonight we have Chateau Zed, one of the original streamers back in the earlier parts of the year. We have the XYZ run, or XYZ run, like most people like to call it, team of CJ and David. It is CJ, not Siege, how most people like to say. And we have my co-host MJ Stables, the King of Speed, and myself, Golden Globe Master, independent game developer. How's everybody doing tonight?
Pretty good, man. How you guys doing?
Doing
Good,
wonderful.
good.
Doing it
Wonderful. Glad to be
great.
here.
Bears won
Thanks
today,
for
so
having
I'm
us on.
happy.
There you go. Wins all around.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Except on the racetrack. I think I've been losing for 3 days straight.
Ouch. Sorry to hear that. So let's jump right in. Chateau. Question for you to get us kind of started. Is it Zed Chateau or Chateau Zed? Because I
It's
mess that up
well,
all the time. I feel like, and I go back and forth.
if you're typing it in somewhere, it's Zed Chateau.
Okay.
But there's too many people with Zed at the beginning of their name, so just Chateau is cool.
All right. I like it. I like it. Good to know. I figured we're on the topic of mispronouncing names, and I'm very guilty of Siege and CJ.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Might as
might
well
as well
clear it all
just
up.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So David and CJ, what got you guys into Zed?
You go first, Dave. You were in Zed first, so.
Um,
And when did you get into Zed?
yeah, so for me, it was the Darren Ravel tweet after the April 2nd drop. Not a big fan of the guy, but he tweeted about the drop and this Zed concept that I had heard of it before, but this was the first time I kind of dug into it, and so I bought my first horse in early April when breeding was open, like second week of April, right before they closed the window. And then I've grown my stable since. So it's kind of Zed's a kind of a perfect combination of a lot of different things that I like. So it grew on me pretty quickly.
What caused you to kind of flip the switch? Because you had already kind of known about it, but what like put you over the edge to finally get in?
Yeah, just I had some time to kind of dig in and learn more about it, and um, before I hadn't really taken the time. This was really my first NFT.
Nice.
I've been a crypto guy since 2014,
Okay. Cool.
but I'd never really thought about getting into NFTs. Um, but then this kind of popped up and was getting more popular and seemed like the right thing to get into. So
Nice. Very cool. What about you, CJ?
Yeah, so I actually came from another game, so I've been I played games my whole life, and I was playing like a gotcha game on my phone, and I was in a guild, and one of the guys posted, I can't remember who the link was to, but it was like a link on to an article about it, and I was like, wow, this sounds like super cool. It's a great idea. It's like a successful model already kind of basically built out in the real world. So I jumped in. I did some really I did some stuff I would not recommend. Like I went and borrowed a bunch of money from people to actually be able to afford horses.
Oh wow.
And then yeah, I remember I jumped on. I found a horse I like. I didn't do like any research, so that was even stupid, like or even more stupid. So the first horse I bought was a total donkey, and then I just kind of like learned as I went. I went into step really early. Learned a lot from guys like David and Dan Shan and Chance and a few others, and then I just kind of like threw myself fully into it. And then I think yeah, so then now I've got a pretty successful stable so far. I made back my initial investment and took it out and paid back all my debt and all that stuff. So
That's
I'm
huge.
yeah, I'm just happy to be here. Like I just honestly like Zed is just so fun to me. Like the concept of Zed and like the idea of Zed, and so I just want to learn as much as possible about it and kind of grow the community for now.
Nice, nice. That's got to be just an incredible feeling.
Yeah.
A little weight off your shoulders.
Could have gone a lot. Yeah, well, that's just it. Like, and I feel like I actually made better decisions with my stable like 2 weeks ago before I had taken out the money and had it hanging over my head. Because now it's just like playing with profits. I just feel like I've made some pretty bad decisions in the last 2 weeks. But you know, you
lot
live and
more
you learn.
aggressive.
What about
You're
you?
probably a lot more aggressive now, aren't you?
Yeah, and impatient, I think. But I think that like kind of comes with the current environment a little bit has made me a little more impatient. But you know, we can maybe touch on that later.
What about you, Chateau?
So we're still talking about how we got started.
Yeah, yeah. When did you get
Yeah.
started? How'd you
So
get started?
yeah. So I got started like the day before. I guess it was like March 18th because they did a drop on March 19th, and there was a tweet. I follow Jack Settleman on Twitter, or my old account or whatever from Top Shot. And he put out a tweet of a horse that he had bought, and it was just like a picture of a race, not even really much context. And I just saw up in the corner it said Zed. It's like, what in the hell is this? Like, I need to find. I didn't even have like a MetaMask wallet. I had bought some Ethereum. Just I've just been dabbing my toe in there and had some Top Shot moments that were worth way less than I bought them for. So I was just kind of, over that and looking for something new. And I saw that tweet. It was like the middle of the night, and I was like, "What in the world?" Found out, like Googled it, found Zed Run, found out they were doing a drop the next day. So it was just like, "What is MetaMask? How do I what do I need to do? How do I set this up?" And luckily figured it all out and bought a couple of horses that next day, and just. And one of them was a total. Actually, they're both total donkeys. One, I got lucky. One of them got a win early, so it kind of like tricked me. But man, yeah, just hooked ever since. So
That's talk about timing. Getting in middle of the night
yeah,
and the
right.
next day drop. Like
Yeah,
that's diving in
yeah.
head first.
It was precipitous. I think is the word, right? Good timing.
Yeah, very, very much so for sure. Um, so you guys have been in for a few months now. Like I'd say longer than a handful of people. There are definitely people that have been in for significantly longer, but like
Mhm.
I didn't get in until end of May. So like, do you
Whoa.
all have sizable stables? Do you have one stable? Do you have multiple? How do you break that out? How do you manage your stable?
Well, I have a fairly small stable. I would say like a relatively small stable. Like I only have two Genesis horses now. I ended up like I sold a bunch before. I should say a couple. And like I have a couple racers, and then I have a shared stable with David for the stream, but nothing big. Like I don't like. I mean, like I said, I had to borrow money to get in, so like it's not like I had like a huge like stack to sit on or anything. But I found one of the things about the game has been really fun is growing out a small stable and starting really small, and then figuring out ways to grow it and make money at the same time. So it's been pretty fun. I know David
Yeah.
has like a pretty decent stable.
Yeah, I've got close to 50 horses now.
Sheesh.
There's
Sorry.
been, with I was just looking at it, probably 15 Genesis, so spread kind of throughout. A lot of bred stuff that I just haven't raced as much as I wanted to, and still kind of working on what I want to keep versus what I want to get rid of. But yeah, it's I've got a breeding stable and a racing stable, and then it kind of split between two or three stables for me. So
Okay. Nice, nice. I like that. I feel like that's a pretty common approach to hear people break out between now racing and breeding to try and help with kind of the money management. I wish Zed would just say, hey, let's patch that so you don't have to have multiple stables. Let's have a way to segment things out and let's just drop the fee.
Right. Yeah, that would
The
be.
only thing, yeah, the for that it would be like one, they need to have like a bench so that the horses that you're breeding don't show up in your racing thing, so you have to like scroll. And then
Uh-huh.
the other one would just be to make the discount like 56% or whatever it is, or like 45% or whatever it would be.
Right. I love that bench idea. Like it's like a fantasy football lineup.
Yeah, it definitely
Sorry,
gets
Chateau.
confusing, and especially with like how hard it is to get into races right now. Like if you have more than a few horses and you're if you have to scroll at all, like
Yeah.
you don't get in. So that's kind of frustrating at the moment. But
What
you know,
about your stable Chateau?
oh, you guys, I've got a problem.
Well, we're here to help. I think that's step one, right?
I think you're gonna make it worse. I think this is gonna make it worse, you guys. But no, so I've been buying horses just like constantly since March 19th. So I'm I think I'm up to like 100. I don't know. I haven't counted in a while.
Wow.
I just keep breeding a lot. Like I bought like 2 or 3 horses every drop since March 19th. So that was like 10 or 12 there. And then I've never sold anything because, like I said, I've got a problem. And I see the potential long term in this game, and I just feel like even my legendary exclusive, like my bred horses that are selling for, I mean, it's a profit. You could double your money, but I just feel like with where the game could go, where it should go, why sell now? You know, like I've sold other NFTs that I'm just kicking myself about. So, yeah, I'm hanging on to everything. I've sold one horse, which is a horse that I bought and realized it was not the potential that I thought was there wasn't there, so I just got rid of it. But yeah, so I've got 3 stables. I've got my main racing stable. I've got my jockey club stable, which is where I put like my Genesis males that aren't good racers. I just kind of throw them over there. And then my third stable is for the donkeys, just to kind of get them out of the way. So yeah, it's overwhelming, and with like trying to enter races, and I've got a bunch of unnamed horses in my stable now, so it's like just there's a lot of
Jeez.
scrolling in that little circle when it loads. When you get to the bottom of the page, it doesn't always work, and you know it's out of hand, frankly.
I can't even imagine. I struggle with what 14 that I have now,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and man, it's tough. It is tough.
I guess I'm the lucky one here with only 5 or what I have 6 horses, and all of them are in different classes. So if
Oh,
you
that's
pick a
pretty sweet.
class, the one for that class, it lights up.
yep. Yeah, that's perfect. I only have a couple. Like I've got one class 1 racer and one class 2 racer, maybe 2. So when those like those free races pop up, I'm usually able to click into those pretty easily. But
Nice.
yeah,
I will say though, real fast, Zed Chateau. I'm a huge fan. I was watching when I got into Zed.
thank you.
It was basically only people who had videos out were you, Poseidon, and King Beaver Shot. And like your videos were really family friendly because you would have your daughter with you, like
Yeah.
racing and enjoying. I remember, I believe you streamed the drop right before the terror drop, or didn't stream it,
Yeah,
but you recorded it, and the
yeah.
franticness, like it
Oh
all
man.
comes out in the video. You were like, let me get a
Yeah.
horse, let me get some horses, and it just comes out in the video, and it like makes you smile. Like if you're watching those videos in hindsight, going back at the veteran now, then it really makes you smile for what Zed has done in the meantime. Because I believe you started um, before they switched over to Matic.
It was like right around the same time.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I never had. Oh well, actually, the first couple of drops there were gas fees. So like I tried to buy. I didn't look because I would just be sad. I don't want to see how much gas I burned in those drops. But like the ghost horses that you tried to buy and you were burning gas every time. So yeah, luckily that they switched over pretty soon after I joined. But thank you for the kind words. That's awesome. That's what I was going for. I've got young kids, like a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old, so it's hard for me to not. It's why not? They're cute kids, so
Yeah, I got 2 girls too, and they both love Zed. They like to name my horses
yeah.
and watch. I only show them races that I win, but
Yeah, my daughter always picks the green horse. She always walks up and wants to root for the green horse. So if there's not a green horse in the race, she's fairly upset.
So do you guys? I'll start with you, Chateau. Do you have a favorite horse then? Is it a green horse?
No, I don't even really. Actually, I do. I just recently bred a green horse, a chartreuse horse that's
Oh,
doing pretty
nice.
well. But I think Toyota Prius has to be
Toyota
my
Prius,
favorite.
yeah.
Yeah,
I knew you were
I
going to
mean,
say that.
yeah, I love that horse. He was my fourth purchase. So I bought the two in the drop, and then I bought a Genesis on OpenSea or Matic OpenSea that was just a total donkey, and it was entered in like 3 or 4 races when I bought it. So like I thought I was getting a horse with one race, and it showed up. It had like 4 or 5 losses. So yeah, lesson learned. Anyway, so Prius was my fourth horse, and I love him. I love that
What
guy.
what led you to buy Prius?
It was he was priced at the floor, which basically all of the horses that I've ever bought are just like floor price. I paid up for 2 racers. I sold an NFT a couple months ago and turned that into a couple of racers. But aside from that, I just buy floor horses all the time. So Prius was one. I think he had like 4 races, and he was getting odds at like 8 or 9, and just they were racing him at long distances, and he's a short distance horse. Come to find out, so yeah, it was just I got lucky basically. I was using Zed Nucleus, rest in peace. Thanks, Remy.
But not forgotten.
Yeah, pour one out for Zed Nucleus.
I still use it. I think it's still
I,
active, right?
he shut it down
A couple
yesterday or
days ago,
sometime
yeah.
recently. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, we're all switching boats there, but yeah. So Prius has got to be. I've got some other better racers now, but I mean Prius has got the spot for sure.
Love it, love it. What about you, David?
Yeah, my favorite horse has got to be Groot. J. Sapel Groot. I bought him. He was my second horse. Bought him the second week of April. I even have a little plush toy that I got when I went to Disney for him. But he's. I was just kind of watching the market, and he popped up. He's a rare coat Z4 legendary Naka, and he popped up at like 0.65 or 0.75 pretty early on, like maybe after his Griffin. And then somebody bought him, raced him 4 or 5 times. He did poorly, and then sold him for, or relisted him for 0.45.
Wow.
So I jumped on that, and haven't looked back. So I don't usually buy racers, but like Chateau was saying, he had 8 or 9 odds in a lot of his races, but the placements just weren't there. And so yeah, I got lucky enough to pick him up. And I don't race as much as some of these guys, but I've got 500 races on him, and he's a 12% winner. So he's
there you go.
He's done well for me.
That is awesome. I love it. And I love that you got the little plush for him too.
Yeah.
Over to you, CJ.
My favorite horse is probably, I have 2. One is a little bit of a sore spot right now. I don't know if I really want to talk about it, but Treasure the Love is Z8 Genesis beater, and she is and she's slate gray. I got her from my first drop that I was in, and she's the only horse I have left from the drop. I got a couple of them, but she has been my most profitable horse by far. I've been able to breed quite a few good horses out of her, and she's made it like quite a bit of money selling them. So yeah, so I guess she would have to be my favorite, because if she can keep pumping out good kids, I'm happy. And she's got a great name, great coat. She's Genesis. I'd probably hold on to it forever. And then my other one is Discord Revolution, but I recently sold it, and I'm kind of upset about it. So
sorry.
Yeah.
That's why you never sell anything, CJ.
No, I know. It was really stupid. It's just that like I get really impatient sometimes, and then with like fatigue implemented and like everything else that was going on, I was just like, I was not really having a lot of fun racing at the time, and then something else was going on I kind of wanted some money for. So he was the only one that I had a couple of the horses up for sale, but nobody was buying anything. So I had him up, and I kept dropping the price, and eventually somebody got it. So.
Yeah, the one that got away.
Exactly. If I could go back, I would, but
right?
It is what it is.
Yeah, if only. I feel like that's the first rule of NFTs is don't sell.
Yeah.
Unless you absolutely have to.
Absolutely.
See, I have a difference of opinion there for not selling. And that's because I owned donkeys through the month of June
Yeah.
and May when it was brutal trying to race. And my first horse name was Hotspur. I raced $100 worth of losses in that horse, and so I got rid of it, and then was able to get a better horse, and then was able to get a better horse, and able to get a better horse. It was kind of like the approach that Lacey was talking about, where she sold half of her stable in order to get a Z2. So, everybody had a difference of opinion. Like Sean from Sean vs. All, he said he's never selling a horse. Never gonna sell a horse. Okay.
It's tough. You can get attached to some of these horses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did actually sell my favorite horse, but I got a better horse for it, or at least a lower Z number. She's not actually a better horse.
The victories come in different flavors, different areas.
Yes.
So next round of kind of questions, David. We'll start with you. What is your definition of like winning or being successful in Zed? What does that mean for you?
It's a good question. I don't think I've talked about that. So I'm very happy with, having horses that can win in Class 3 and Class 4, and that are, for me, because I'm not a big racer, having horses that are relatively easy to race. That's kind of where I focus. That said, I don't really buy racers, so it's all about discovering horses. I don't even know how many horses I've bred at this point, but not as many as some people, but probably 50 or 60. And so for me, it's just finding horses that can be competitive. I'm definitely not one that needs a Class 1 superstar. And then also kind of sharing what we've learned. I mean, with CJ and I started XYZed Run to really kind of do on Twitch what we do anyway, and kind of talk through things and talk about theories, and so that's those are the kind of the two things that I focus on. So it's nice to make money, but that's not why I'm really doing this. So
I love the data sharing and knowledge share, but also I think it's really important, especially for like newer stables, to understand that you can still be successful and still have fun and still make money if you're not in Class 1.
Yes.
And I think that's a big misconception, is to try and race to the top. If you can do that and you can be successful up there, great, but like that's so few and far between that it's hard to do, and you don't have to be up there to have a good horse.
right.
Yes.
And I think that's really important.
Prime examples are main event Steph Curry and every horse arbitrage owns. I don't think arbitrage even races in Class 1. And he's been like sitting at the top of the leaderboard for ROI just in racing. That's impressive.
Well, that's because there's no real incentive to race in Class 1 right now.
Yes,
There's not enough races, and there's so few horses that are actually profitable there that if you can get a horse that's super strong, like maybe Class 1 strong, but it can like race down in Class 3, you're going to make a lot more money there.
Yes.
Typically.
I think I think in Class 1, I don't really look at Class 1, but I think the races may be too expensive all the way around, and that keeps people from racing.
Well, I think part of the problem is that like you're staking all the money, and like Zed takes a pretty large rake, so you're basically taking all the risk when you're racing with those big buy-ins, like you're saying. And then the other part of the problem is that in C1, you're racing against like basically all fields of killers if you're in like a big race like that. Whereas like the population in C5, C4, even C3 is so much larger that you're going to get like a much wider variety of horses to race against, and being able to pick your spots a little bit more.
Yeah. But the other thing is that even in Class 5 and Class 4, if you notice, like when we don't get $50 races down there or $100 races in Class 5 and Class 4, we'll have like a $25 race sitting for like 2 hours before it finally gets filled.
Right.
And sometimes they throw out like 4 at a time, which pisses me off because I'm like, man, I'm trying to race for $5 and $2.50, and you've got all these
Right.
races that will not get filled.
Yeah.
Like, keep throwing these $2. The most I'll race for is $10. Like,
Yeah, I'm with you.
You know, so
I don't know. So there's a little bit of something about being in a big money race and winning. You know, but you have to have like, typically you have to have pretty good horses to do that.
Yeah, I'm content with the feeling when you win a $5 race. That's good.
and so Chateau, I'm gonna shoot MJ's question down to you. How do you
Yeah.
define success?
Oh man, it's I like I said earlier, I've got a really long-term vision or plan or whatever with this game. So, and like if you were to look on like the Know Your Horses stable ROI, it's not pretty. Like until recently, I've got a nice little U shape going. I've recently, like with flames and everything, actually kind of opened my eyes to some stuff about my horses. But yeah, so until recently, like I was just hemorrhaging money racing. I've never sold a horse, so like, if you were just like on the outside looking in, it's like this guy, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? But yeah, so success to me is just like watching the game grow, trying to, like you were saying, like when I first started making YouTube videos, there was only like 3 or 4 people doing it, so I just kind of saw an opportunity there. And so my long term or my goal or whatever with the game is just to be around. I don't know. We're doing like I'm starting to do like tournaments and organizing community events and just trying to help new players and just like the game's success is success for all of us in my view. So
I agree.
I like that.
And so CJ, the last but not least, how do
Yeah,
you
I mean,
define success? Or how do you win the game?
Win the game. So I'm one of those. I really love the racing aspect of the game. So like eventually, what I would love to be able to do is have like a top 5 racer in the game, something that can go up to like class 1 and just crush it. I know it's going to be really tough, maybe not even achievable, but you know that's my long-term goal. In the meantime, just like being ROI positive racing, finding like something I really love to do is find out new things about the game. So like we have a stream obviously like coming up this week, and we're going to be kind of talking about something we've discovered about distance preference, which is like really cool. I think is really cool. And like to discover something like that before, well, not necessarily before anybody else, but being able to like have a theory or like find something that is new and like share it with everyone and then discuss it and like, you know, figure out if it's true or if there's more that needs to be researched. Like to me, that's like super fun. And then obviously, like David said, we made the stream with the intention of getting as much information out there to as many people as possible and helping people kind of like develop their stables and like learn about the game. Because you know, like Chateau said, if the game is growing and everybody's learning and they're telling people about how much fun they're having and how cool this game is, then we all benefit, right? Like it's plus EV for everyone, for the community to grow and for new players to come in. And like that's why at the beginning, like there was some stuff going on that I feel like some people were taking advantage of new players and like doing like some shady stuff, and like it's a short-term game for you, but like in the long term that discourages people from playing Zed, right? So it's you're going to probably do better for yourself in the long term if you're like helping people instead of, you know, hurting them. That's just my opinion.
yeah, absolutely, I agree.
And so here's a question, because I've been watching you for a while, and somehow or another we cross paths and then don't say anything, and then we cross paths again. Are you still anti-speed?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think maybe I came on a little bit strong about speed in the first place. I think I came off as like really anti-speed in terms of I disliked the idea of speed and you shouldn't look at it, that sort of thing. It was always more of a like speed to me was like a 3rd tier statistic because you get more information from other statistics and you need like a really large body of work or a really large sample in order for speed to start telling you anything. And then once you have the information that speed does tell you, you already kind of had information from other places that gave you better information, in my opinion. I wouldn't say I'm anti-speed. I'm coming around to speed being able to tell you different things if you can eliminate a lot of the noise. But eliminating a lot of the noise from, say, like variance and like, global modifiers and normalization is really difficult. So I'm still kind of in the camp that there are better things to look at before you look at speed. But I will look at like speed and time as like a third or fourth order kind of thing to really narrow down something that I'm looking at.
So what are some of those, like, what's like your top two like tier things you look at before you evaluate speed?
So I guess it depends on what I'm looking for. So if I'm looking for a breeder, it'll be like look at class first, then look at placements, and then my third thing to look at. Well, then I'll look at parents if they're a bred horse or their Zed, their genotype, and then I will look at like mean speed at 1600 as kind of like a fourth tier thing to kind of like really narrow down if I'm not satisfied with the difference between like the placement history and everything else.
Interesting. And
What was that?
Making
I don't
friends.
know. Do you know a Sangoon?
Welcome to the stream, bud.
No, I've never.
I don't know how you got here.
Interesting. I like that. So, like, what about?
Yeah.
I guess. Sorry, with the little distraction there. But so that's for breeders. I like that thought process. I've done some similar things in the past. I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we could go to. Okay, I want to go down a different path first. Like racers.
Yeah.
How do you evaluate those?
So for racing, it's pretty much the same in terms of I'll look at their parents and then I'll look at kind of what their placement pattern is like, because you can kind of, unless you're getting really, really unlucky early on, you can kind of see what their placement pattern is like in any given distance. So what Fire did when it first came out was gave us a lot of insight into like distance preference, which was really cool because we had odds plus distance preference, and it really opened our eyes to different profiles of horses. I think I always had a hunch that there was like specific profiles, but like with Fire, you could really see, how these horses run and like how they're supposed to be run and that sort of thing. So for me now, it's just like placements and Fire. They tell you mostly, and like if you're not getting Fire anywhere, I'm sorry, but like it's not good for your horse.
It's probably time. Fire and
yeah,
middle finishes. It's
yeah,
probably
exactly.
time.
And that's just it. It's just if you get like a large pattern of middle finishes early on, that's not really a great sign for your horse. Like typically, high variance horses, whether they're strong or whether they belong in a lower class or whatever, they will tend to go into those like U-shaped categories, right? And like they'll lose a lot more if they're in a class that's too high for them, and obviously they'll win a lot more if they're in a class that's too low. But they have that. And then like with distance preference horses, you'll see if you run, a certain amount of races with a different distance preference horse and you never win, usually that means that it's not a very strong distance preference horse.
Interesting. I love it. Thank you. So what would you say, we're kind of go on the other side of the spectrum here. There's some things I want to kind of circle back to around just breeding in general, but I want to still kind of keep things high level right now. And I'll throw it right back to you, CJ. What do you struggle with the most right now in Zed?
What do I struggle with the most? Patience. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like patience. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Chateau. Patience on the market are two of my biggest things. The fatigue has really kind of hurt me. I don't know. David might be able to answer this better because I usually go to like when I'm struggling with something, I'll go to like David, I'll go to BG, I'll go to like the people in our little kind of inside network where I'll ask them for help or questions. Yeah, maybe he could answer better what I struggle with because I have a short-term memory. So
yeah, all right, David. What struggles has CJ had, and what struggles are you having currently?
Yeah, I mean, CJ definitely hit on his. I think I'm almost on the opposite end. I'll wait, 3 weeks or month or 6 weeks for sales to go through. So I've got no issue doing that.
That's huge.
And but that also is a struggle sometimes, because like if I need liquidity, or I'm kind of stubborn. So for me, my biggest issue right now is not that I'm a huge racer, but race generation and fatigue. We're more than 2 weeks out from the announcement they were going to change the system that's, I feel like, relatively broken right now. And
I agree.
Yeah, is it
One
time?
hundred
Do we get to
percent.
complain about fatigue now? Is that the time?
it's
How much time do we have to complain about fatigue?
All the time.
We're
gonna need more time.
Yeah.
I throw my vote there as well. Fatigue, stamina, whatever the hell you want to call it. I hate it. The way it's implemented, it's awful.
So why? I guess why? What about it don't you like? Chateau, we'll start with you. And what is your strategy around fatigue? How are you handling it? How are you managing it? Or stamina?
I'm not racing much because I don't have very good horses, and I'm trying to make them look as good as I can. You want your horses to have as good of a win rate as you can. So I'm not trying to race horses. I don't know where that drop off is, but I'm not racing below 95% just to be safe.
Okay.
So it's basically one race a day for each horse. And I only have a handful that are decent racers. So I basically just I don't get to play much, which is a bummer. And the way that they rolled out the stamina with the bar, and you have to have a freaking plug-in to see how tired your horses are. Come on. And like David said, it's been 2 weeks since that update. That the way that they put it in the update, that sounds great. Do it.
Right.
So yeah, fatigue is really frustrating, but I'm sure eventually it'll be fine when you can run a few and then get tired. And it's just the way that they have it implemented right now, you can't even play the game.
Well, to be fair, it was a overreaction on the community and Zed. I said this earlier in the week, because we go back to May and June, even though they said they were always going to implement fatigue, if you remember, May and June, we were running against the same horses over and over and over and over again. And so the way they implemented stamina or fatigue, however you want to break it down, was to try to combat that, and to also try to combat downclassing a little bit. They made it actually either to downclass for certain horses, but it is trial and error. I think they made 4 mistakes though when they released this update. The one was adding stamina, flame, taking away odds, flames, increasing the cost of breeding, and then only allowing you to enter 1 race at a time. All 4 of those things implemented at the same time kind of is why racing is down. The prices, if you're horse flipping or something, for the people in the audience, that's why that's down, because you can't really race, and racing is where you recoup your return on investment. So, hopefully they implement their update soon with the stamina, at least 5 races. I think it should be Ceej, you were correct. I think Wednesday you said something sorry, CJ. You said 25, 26 races a day. How much is the limit? Maybe 20 races, something like that. And I agreed with you 100% on that. Limiting people from playing the game to protect other people, it's you don't know how to make it work. It's going to be hard for them to figure, as well as the community, to help them figure out where is the limit, or where is the compromise.
Well, I guess the way that I look at it is that at the core of its game, Zed needs to have racing be fun and to be available for the whole system to be successful. Because breeding is the whole point of breeding, is to either breed a racer or breed a horse that you're going to sell to someone that hopes that they're going to get a racer. Without racing, nothing works. And MJ and Chateau and you and David have all touched on really good things about why stamina is such a bad, or it was really poorly implemented in its current form. Not being able to see your stamina is just like, it's just quality of life stuff, right? Like it's so tedious to have to use someone else's plugin, check a different page, check every like half hour or hour to see if your stamina is at the right point or whatever. Only being able to run your horse, you know, the optimal system that I've kind of like worked out for myself is that you can typically have a decent chance of winning with a good, like a decent horse or a good horse for like 2 to 4 races, depending on their stamina, like degradation. And every horse is different. Like I have a pretty strong racer, but she loses 5 stamina from the start after her first race. And because she's a high variance horse, she gets hurt more by losing stamina. So she really only gets 2 races a day where she can have a realistic chance of winning or be expected to win. And then you do those 2 to 4 races, and then you might have like 2 or 3 races that you can downclass if you need to. And then you just kind of wait for 24 hours, right? And it's not very fun. It's like they've taken the fun out of racing. And to your point, when in June and April and all those other times when you're racing the same horses, I think there's 2 factors that came into that. One is that like there was no queue times, right? So like you're racing the same horse because it's 5 to 15 minutes to queue. And then the other thing was that their breeding was closed. So of course you're going to be racing against the same horses all the time. There's nothing to like make the atmosphere fresh. It's now that after breeding opened, like we saw the queues were kind of ridiculous. Obviously, that wasn't fun either. But there was definitely a middle ground, and I think like making stamina private for one is a big mistake. Like Cryptog has touched on this a lot. And the other thing is just having all the information available, making it so that, you know, if you want to race 5 to 10 times, you know, every 12 hours, I think that that's a good middle ground, right? Like, so like they said 5 to 8 without losing stamina. So you'll be able to race 10 to 16 times if you do like 12-hour intervals or whatever. David has made good points about it probably being better at 8 hours, because if you're doing 12 hours, like you're like, oh yeah, I could do it in the morning that night, but then you don't have, like, you're not really factoring in the time that it takes to find a race that you want. And race generation is a mess right now anyway. So like you're realistically spending more like an hour to 2 hours looking for your optimal races. So I think there's definitely a lot that needs to be kind of tweaked. But you know, it's like I said, 2 weeks ago is when they said that they're going to do it. It's not hard to see that racing has like fallen off a cliff in terms of the amount of races being run, which hurts the market. If you can't make money, you're not going to buy horses. So I think I don't understand why they didn't just like maybe roll it back and wait until they had the optimal fixes. But anyway, yeah, that's just like where I'm at. I agree with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm
in a shorter field. All right, sorry about that, Chateau. I think it's like 6 hours personally. A cool down of 6 hours after you race,
right,
to regenerate stamina. Because there's no reason I should have to wait 12 hours, like, or 24 hours, like in Chateau Zed cases, just to race it. My horse at 100%.
Or it should tell
long
you, like you
wait.
should, like they put in the I think in the update there was like a timer or whatever, so it'll tell you how long until you're full.
Yeah, or the
it's
percentage.
Just like but they rolled out flames and fatigue at the same time. And they didn't even like announce it, so it's not like they had to put out fatigue when they did. So it's just
and the increase in breeding cost. No,
yeah, I mean that
everything.
sucks too. But I have a bunch of butyrins, so that didn't really affect me.
And I only pay min fees anyway, so
yeah, I'm a min fee butyrin guy, so stable. Breed fee is not really my ballpark.
Yeah. Well, it's a trial and error, because they got to work everything out, because they could wreck the game economy or they could boost it up, and so like we also didn't take into account, a lot of us did, as far as flippers go, didn't take into account that ETH went up. So ETH went up in US dollar value during this whole time frame as well. So if we're flipping horses and whatnot, we got to take into account, people look at that like, I'm not paying $1,000 for a Z19 legendary. Get my ass.
Yeah. Well, that's another big barrier for like new players getting into the game, where they're looking at the floor price on OpenSea. It's like hundreds of dollars, and then you come and you race once and you lose half your fatigue, and it's a weird time to be new in the game, I feel like.
Yes.
And it hurt Zed too, without as many races going on. Like, they're not making as much money. Like, you'd think they'd really, I mean, I'm sure they are, but like further prioritize this, because then it's a win-win for everyone. We get to race more, they make more money. Like,
Yeah.
let's go.
Right.
I think
You,
part
you
of this
think?
is though, I think they do want to keep the prices low on the for the new people getting in, um, as well, because the original vision was two guys go out in a bar, or four or five guys go out in a bar, and one guy knows about Zed. He gets his guys to like buy some horses, and then they buy some horses and then race and get drunk and have fun. And
Yep.
if one of my how Zed was maybe 2 months ago, if one of my friends was like, "Hey, I need to spend $1,000 on this horse while we're out in the bar," I'd be like, "Dude, get the fuck out of
Yeah.
here!"
And it might
Like,
suck.
hell
It'll
no.
probably suck, but it's fine. You'll own it.
Yeah, but if you while I'm drinking and while you're drinking, if somebody introduced you to Zed, you're gonna be like, "Dude, get the fuck out of here!" $1,000.
Yeah. I know. I've told a dozen or more friends about it, and one of them has a stable now. So you know, it's
It
a
is kind
hard
of hard
sell.
to get, like friends and other people in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the long term, a lower value for your cost of entry will help people get in. I just don't like the way it's what happened to get us to the point to lower the cost of entry. That's all.
Right. Yeah.
Um, David, you're awfully quiet down there about this fatigue and stamina. What's your view on it?
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I think I'm just hoping they roll out the improved system here as soon as possible. And I think the biggest other thing they need to focus on is race generation, because
Yes.
if people are able to race 15 races a day or 20 races a day, then if races aren't being generated in class 4 and class 5, then that's they're not going to be able to race that number of races, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think the other guys have kind of hit on a lot of it.
All right. So I wanted to shift gears kind of completely here and talk to you guys a little bit about just breeding in general. CJ, I know you talked about that earlier and kind of some of the things you look for. But you guys at XYZed Run have a lot of theories about breeding, horse performance, horse evaluation. Um, David, what do you think about just breeding, and like what is your process when you look at breeding and trying to optimize for that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got enough horses in my stable that I still do a lot of kind of in-house breeding. But with the way the market's been and the way the game's been over the last month or so, I've cut back on racing and I've cut back on breeding. I've got another round of breeding that I need to do before the reset next week, and I'm not sure if I'm going to breed all my horses this month. So
Oh my goodness.
Is that just due to
Blasphemy.
volume, cost? Like what? Why is that? Just the state of the game currently?
yeah, just the state
Struggles
of the game.
with breeding? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, um, yeah, I mean, it's a combination of things. But I mean, as far as what I look for, CJ and I have kind of developed a lot of things together, and so we think about breeding pretty similarly. We've talked about kind of a folded score and looking at kind of more placements in the top 6 than the bottom 6. I slightly disagree on the importance of average class, because I think it unfairly penalizes a lot of Finneys and Buterins. And there are a lot of horses that people stop racing before you really start to see their placement patterns form, and they push high enough, class wise, to really show how good a breeder they could be. So I don't always. I would say class is. I look at class, but it's not first on my list like it is for CJ. And I'm a bit of a color hunter as well. So
Really?
I somewhat
be
ashamedly
ashamed.
look
Don't
at
be
super
ashamed.
coats. Yeah, yeah.
No
So
judgment here. This is judgment-free zone.
Yeah,
yeah,
we're in
What
the
I've
know.
got,
what
I've
colors
got
you
3 or
looking
4
at?
super coats, and it,
Oh,
that's
that's probably half the super coats in all the game.
yeah. That's
Oh,
right.
I
That's
got
right.
I got a super coat, rare coat.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. Me
So,
too.
what is your favorite color, David? Or colors?
I like a lot of colors. My first 2 horses were rosy brown.
Okay.
So I get a lot of flack from CJ and like everybody else about how I like the brown horses. And
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with that.
um, but
They
all
just
like
don't pop like some of the other colors,
yeah,
though. I mean,
That's right.
we're in a
more
fantasy land
traditionalist.
here. We're watching these fantasy land horses. At least let's get some bright colors, you know.
yeah. But I do like a lot of the bright colors. You know, the electric violets and the fire bricks and the you know, what is it? Fire opal, like the orange kind of color. You know, midnight black, obviously everybody's favorite. Yeah. So,
I like it. I like it.
Sorry, I didn't. When I was like kind of like laughing a little bit earlier, I just realized what I did on Twitter, and David kind of messaged me back. I think that's why that guy showed up earlier. So sorry about that. That was my bad.
That's okay.
CJ releasing the true alpha on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you, Chateau, with your giant stable?
Uh,
Are you going to
so
be making a full round of breeding too? Like when your next
I
cycle's
had
up?
I had that thought that David had of like, man, the game's kind of I don't know, like maybe I'll take a week off or a month off. But I made it like a day. I think I missed. I bred them all because I was like, the longer I wait, then that next cycle of the offspring is going to be pushed back, and like I said, I've got a problem. So no, I've been breeding everything every time. Like I've got my HawkU thing set up, tells me when they're ready to breed, and I've got enough. I've got enough Genesis males now that I can just throw stuff. I'm in a kind of a testing phase still, just slapping everything together to see what works. And I think I have one good stud, which is exciting. I've got
That's
one horse. Yeah, I've got one Genesis male that's he's put out 3 or 4 pretty solid horses so far. So
Do you care to share that with the rest of us?
yeah, his name's the Duck.
No way! I
The
love that.
Yeah, the Duck.
That's great.
So I picked him up. I watch HawkU, the listings page, not so much anymore because I'm kind of running out of money. But was for a while there. I was just watching HawkU constantly, and he popped up. He's a rare coat, royal blue, I think is what he is.
Wow.
And somebody listed him at the floor price. I was like 0.25 at the time, and I didn't even really think about it. I just rare coat, floor price. I'm gonna buy it. And then turns out he's made Jiggler, which is one of my best horses right now. And then I think Flying V and a couple other horses that are young but showing promise. So
Supreme Duck, May,
yeah, Supreme
the
Duck.
Duckling, Waddle. I love all the names. This is
Yeah,
incredible.
actually,
Your naming game is...
the Duckling wasn't mine. The Duckling was there before I bought him.
Okay.
But yeah, all the other, I'm trying to go duck themes with him. I mean, Doofy's got most of them already.
I was getting ready to say that.
Yeah, and Supreme Duck is because Supreme Lad is the mother of that one, and that's the chartreuse. Those are mostly free races, so I don't think that horse is quite as good as it looks, but
Okay.
He's decent. So
I like it. I like it. Oh, we've
Yeah.
got a special guest on tonight. Very cool.
CJ, you're muted. Or CJ, you're muted.
Yeah. No, this is Freya.
Hi,
She's an Aussie doodle. Yeah, sorry.
Puppy. Nice.
She just wanted to come say hi.
Hi, Puppy.
I'm a dog lover myself, so hi. Wish I could give you a treat.
So, how much do you guys, when you're breeding, factor in things like, blood, breed, genotype, or do you just look at like performance?
I'll step in, I guess. I don't really look at that much at all personally at the moment, just because I have all these horses that I need to put it all together and then look at what happened. So I'm still in like the just slapping it all together phase. Yeah, at some point I will look at performance because it obviously translates somehow. But with the breeding limits and everything, I'm still in testing mode. So
I look at breed type. I mean, don't want to go too far down the chain. I'll look at legendaries for legendaries, but generally, if I'm breeding an exclusive, I'm trying to go back up to Genesis. I've bred some Genesis into legendaries, but that's just because I have some legendary horses in my stable that I've wanted to test. But usually, I try to match up breed types as much as I can. And then Z numbers, I'm like everybody else. I tend to look at kind of the best Z number possible for the right price. But at some point, to Chateau's point about kind of smashing things together, it'll make sense to put, Z. I've got a Z2 and a Z3 mare, and it'll make sense to put them into some higher Zs at some point, Z8, Z10, just to kind of see, see what that looks like.
I got a horse named the Duck, if you're interested.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then you, CJ, what's your strategy?
So, I mean, I kind of alluded to it before, but basically, with Genesis, I'll always go back to Genesis, just because I think it's great to have a good stock of Legendary. Plus, I think there's a good chance that Legendary will be the best racers, at least for the foreseeable future. And then same thing with like Legendaries. I'll do Legendary or Genesis. And usually I won't look for a stud lower than like Legendary or Genesis, just because what we believe about the way breeding works right now, the further you go away from Genesis, you're going to be looking at more likely to have a dilution of the base ability. And we don't really want that when we're breeding. So that's kind of the way I look at it. And then, like I said before, the way I look at kind of like base ability is just I look for mean class, and then I try to account for variance within the class with their placement scores. And then I'll look at like mean speed if all that stuff is really close, just to see kind of what it says. But again, a lot of that stuff has a lot of noise. So it's just, for me, it's about finding their base ability, and their base ability is just as little noise as possible, or as much noise as you can remove. And I like colors too. Like I'm a big color guy. Like I said, like the first horse I bought was a total donkey, but it was Ghost White, and I was like, Ghost White is sick. And I had a Ghost White super coat. My favorite coat is Coral Wave. I like Electric Violet. Most of the Moon and Fiery, I'm pretty big on.
And Chateau, did you answer your strategy on breeding, or where?
I mean, I touched on a little bit that I just don't really have much of a strategy. I can add in. I don't know what I'm doing here, fellas. But I don't have any elite or lower horses. Like I've never bred anything lower than that. Just because I'm lucky enough to have enough Genesis males that I can just keep taking it back up. So I've kept everything exclusive or higher. And then every once in a while I have a couple of good, like I've tried to breed Prius. He's a legendary, but he keeps spitting out donkeys. And like I have a couple of good legendaries that I've tried to breed, but I don't think any of that's worked yet. So I'm trying to keep as close to Genesis as possible, but right now I don't really have much of a strategy. I'll throw my hat into the ring of the rare coat, or the color rubbers, or whatever we're going to call ourselves. I feel like if the game, like we're looking at like a mass appeal type game here, and like obviously pretty colors, like people like pretty colors. So if I'm trying to like build out a stable and rarity, obviously in the NFT space, rarity matters. So like rare coats, even though it seems silly, they don't have any performance, but it's rare, and people in NFTs care about that stuff. So I try, and when I can, I've got a few rares. I've got a couple of super rares. So I try and breed back with those because it gives you a higher probability of the rare coat offspring. But just I don't know what I'm doing. So.
And so MJ, because you've bred a very good horse, I think Murder Weapon's also looking pretty good as well.
Yeah, that was a purchase.
What is your strategy?
You bought You didn't breed Murder Weapon, right? You bought that one?
Did not. Yeah, bought it on OpenSea.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, my breeding strategy was, I don't know why, but I tweeted this last night. I get really awkward about breeding legendaries. It's like the only thing where I'm just like, I don't know. It feels uncomfortable to me. Like I just feel like it's that awkward stage of it's just gonna turn into garbage every single time. So you know, my breeding strategy on a whole was kind of based around what CJ talked about earlier, of just like, let's look at the horse. You know, what class is it racing in? How is it performing in that class? Does it have a good win rate? And then who are its parents? Does it have a big name in there? That could be kind of exciting, just for kind of, again, the just general NFT appeal, but not necessarily indicative of success of the offspring. But then also, like, I'm looking for consistency of quality throughout the lineage, I guess. And if that continues through, and the price is right, and it'll keep the Z number down, and the speeds look good, then yeah, I'm in.
Then you'll consider it, and you'll sleep on it, and
right, and then I'll go to Twitter, and then I'll come on here and I'll ask everyone. Yeah, like my kind of joke that I like to say is, I'm not looking for a horse. Like, my list is so long and picky that I'm looking for unicorns.
Okay. I remember helping you find a breeder at one time, and we took.
Yeah.
We were up from like, I think it was like 11 at night to like 3 in the morning.
Yep.
And he still didn't pick a breeder to the next day. So, yeah, I think myself, right, this is controversial, but I think Dan Shan might be onto something with the, what's it called, the breeding ability score. Because I started looking at specific horses, like let's say Blazing Foxfire. Out of all of her breeds, she's only bred one loser. I think she's been bred 6 or 7 times. That's got to be something in there.
We all
You
start
know, some of them have been lightly raised, but you get odds with them as well. And for me, if you're under 12 odds consistently, that's a winner. Back when we had odds, if you look at even like some of the races, like I think about like Charlie Chevelle with the $500 race when he won 3,500, and he was like hype on stream, or not stream, but he was really happy about that. He had 12 odds in that race, and so to me, like my most successful horse was what, Rusty Saddle or Gallant Tune, and they were consistently 12 or lower. Sometimes they would shoot a little higher because horses can other horses in the race can shoot your odds up higher, and so I just go back and look just at her specifically, and then there's a couple of their horses like I think Monterey, who's a Z2 Nakamoto, he's shooting fire out of his loins. And so it's
Someone clip that, please.
and so it's so there might be something, but I've also noticed another pattern. There's 2 horses. I'm not gonna say nothing because I don't have the money to breed with one of them just yet, and I have the pattern for it. But there's 2 specific horses where they're offsprings that are bred together, and they produce winners. But it's just they're 2. It's like they're whatever formula or however the genetic algorithm is going. It's like these 2 horses. They're both males, so they can't breed together. But their offsprings combined make really, really good horses. I don't know why. I just went down that line and looked and was like, wow. And so, there's patterns because it's math, and math is mostly patterns. That's just my opinion. I don't know. You're free to disagree because I know CJ was like, no, I don't. I was watching your interview with NFT Insight, and you were like, nah.
Actually, I think
numbers.
What I did say in the interview was that it's just too early to know, right? Yeah. Like the thing is about patterns is that you can also convince yourself a pattern is there if you're really looking for it.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
And the problem is that when we're talking about thousands and thousands of horses, it's pretty normal within like variation or in RNG that you will get some horses that, in 5 breeds or 6 breeds breed like 3 or 4 good horses. And then they could go on a bad streak and breed like 10 bad horses, right? Like you see it with, I remember Zion, everybody thought Zion was this amazing breeder, but he's got like 2 or 3 good bred horses and then the rest are kind of average or bad, right? So it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm not saying, and I don't think anyone in our kind of like groups thinks that there's no chance of there being an additional breeding score there. It's just that there's no like concrete evidence of it existing yet, and it's just something that we have to observe like over a larger, sample size.
Well, another good one for me is Wall Street, and it's his genes seem to carry. Like sometimes it skips, and this is one of Poseidon's sources. And I remember going back and forth with Poseidon about who the most valuable horse in his stable was, and he was always like Breathless Edge or Grander, and I was like, well, Wall Street has better horses down his line, going all the way to like elite level. Sometimes it skips at legendary, but the offsprings of them will produce good or exclusive level, and some of them will produce better horses than maybe the legendary or the exclusive or even Wall Street himself. Because Wall Street's he's above average, but Breathless Edge and Grander, and there's like a bunch of Z1 Nakamotos that are better racers than him, but his offspring seem to carry the positive ROI gene. That's what I can say, more so than Breathless Edge, because like ZG was saying when we interviewed him, he was like, well, let's go out and Breathless Edge, meaning like we don't know what we're going to get. Most likely it's not going to be something good. Like, and then you look at like Ducky Mallon, she seems to produce pretty good offspring. She even produced a good I think Breathless Edge's only direct offspring that's any good. So that was just me looking for that pattern, I guess. And like you said, if you want to see it, it's there. But I didn't know if I'd necessarily wanted to see it. I was just looking for anything because I know I'm never going to be able to buy a great horse. I'm going to have to breed one.
Yeah, great horses are expensive, man. I'm in the same boat as you. I spent most of my time looking at griffins, right? Like so I'll watch people that like run one race and then like try and dunk the horse, and then kind of figure out if it could be real. So that's how I got all my best racers. Well, except for one, but yeah, it's tough because like once people know that they've got a horse that's profitable, and rightfully so, they're gonna ask a premium for it. So
right, it's that little sweet spot. If you can try and get in there, like that's
before they realize how good it is.
Yeah, the most exciting spot. I feel I'm sorry if you're watching, but I feel like that's how I lucked out with Murder Weapon. Previous owner, yeah, sorry. And I got lucky. It worked out well. It could have worked out horribly for me. I definitely think there's an element of luck there in that selection, but I also like to think there's some kind of data behind it.
Yeah, I think there's absolutely a skill to finding a good racer on the market, for sure.
Yes, that is true.
So
all you gotta do is watch Dan Chan's wallet. I want to say, watch Dan Chan's wallet activity, and whatever he bids on, you bid on. Our arbitrage. Whoever they bid on, just bid on whatever they bid on, and you're more likely gonna get a good horse.
Wish I had that much ETH in my wallet.
right.
Interesting story, which made me mad, but people told me I had to get over it, and I did. But a couple of weeks ago, Lucky Jack gave us some horses to give out. One was the best horse that we gave out was a horse named MJ Magic, by the way. And
That's right.
The guy raced it like 3 or 4 times, and he immediately tried to sell it. And I remember I was on Pony Plug, and I was looking at it because I remember who we gave the horse to. Oh, wow. Lucky Jack sent me a horse to give away. So there will be a giveaway a little bit later. Chateau Zed's also doing a giveaway.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, I got to wait
what happened was the kid wanted to sell the horse almost immediately. And so me being the person I was like, well, why don't you pay it forward and give it away? Since you got it for free. He ended up selling it to Dan Chan for 0.15.
Oof.
0.15.
Oh, this breaks my heart.
If anybody wants to pull up MJ Magic, you're gonna be like, he sold that horse for 0.15?
No. I wanted that horse so bad.
It's a really good racer too. Like a really good racer. And I was just like, wow. Like I was pissed off about it. Cause I was like, you received the horse for just typing ! raffle. And you already had horses in your stable. Race the horse. It looks good. If Dan Chan is bidding on your horse, it means something. It means keep the horse. Or like Jarrett, who we interviewed a while ago. If arbitrage is bidding on your horse, and I'm sorry, arbitrage, but if you ever bid on my horse, I'm not selling it to you. I'm gonna race it. I know I got something, and so like it's people are bidding on your horse, especially those two guys because they can see the pattern as far as racing. I think arbitrage can identify if a horse is a winner or not within even with flames within 6 to 9 races.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's getting harder, but I'm sure they've still got a good system.
Yeah. Well, he does sneaky stuff. Well, I'm not gonna call it sneaky, but it is sneaky. He'll put one of his horses in a race with your horse, and if your horse performs better than your horse, or your horse draws flames and his doesn't, and he knows the capabilities of his horse, he's like, "Oh, this is a good horse. I'm gonna buy it."
Yeah, that's getting harder with stamina. If you can't see if like that other horse may be tired, or and then you only
That's
have one
true.
horse,
But
one race a day. It's harder to pull that kind of stuff off now.
well, all you really have to do to determine, like now, how I'm entering races is I'm looking at know your horses because it tells you how many times the horse has been raced in the last 24 and 12 hours.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I know my horse has only raced 0 times, so I jump into races with horses that have been raced the most.
Yeah, there you go.
So that is a strategy, people, for myself. And thank you. It was a new mic. It took a while for people who couldn't hear me before. I'm sorry. I know people talk about that in the chat.
I'm so depressed over MJ Magic.
You're still depressed.
Yeah.
Sorry. Good afternoon, Red Snap. But as a community, I think we're going to take steps to figure out breeding. It might be fast, might be small, might be a short time.
I think we talked about a little bit earlier, but speaking of just like racing and getting in races and horse performance, flames, love them, hate them. What does it mean to you?
David
David, I
seems
saw
to
the
have an
thumbs
opinion.
I love flames.
Okay.
Yeah,
Why?
I mean, I think we need something to help us rank horses, head to head or whether it's an ELO rating or whatever. But I think flames have nearly as much value as odds did, from helping you run your horse efficiently. So early on, if you're pulling flames at certain distances, likely have pretty strong ability at those distances. If you're racing, if you race 10 times and don't pull flames in any races, then you likely don't have a very strong horse. You may still have a high variance horse, but you likely don't have a strong horse at that point. So I don't think the discovery is, that there is a little bit more of an element of discovery, which is great. But I don't think it's that much more expensive compared to where we used to be with odds. It's only 5 or 10 more races of $2.50 or $5, which is what, $25-30. So, but yeah, I love them.
In a way, I like kind of the black and whiteness of them, as opposed to having a horse that has like 12, 15 odds, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna keep trying to force this to make this happen. Whereas now I may not have flames, and it's like, okay, I'll pump the brakes a little bit more. What about you, Chateau?
Yeah, I agree. I really like the flames. I was obviously we're all hesitant to change. So when odds went away, I was a little upset, I guess. And then like I had a couple of horses where they did like the retroactive flames, and it just didn't really make sense. And but then I took a minute and I had a moment to kind of make peace with the fire, and I like it. I think it's really interesting. And there's like the horses with like the cliff or whatever. I don't know what we're calling it, but where it's like super easy to see where the down button is. Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of the flames so far. I wish that I could actually race my horses a little bit more to experiment more with it, but big fan so far.
Ceej? CJ?
Yeah, I mean, I like fire. I think it's cool. I think it gave us a lot of insight when it was added with odds. I think one of the only issues with fire is that you don't have like a a relative sense of how strong your horse is really in any given race. Which is I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it increases the discovery process a little bit. I think people were kind of scared about fire, meaning that like, oh, you have to spend like $1 million more to discover your horse and stuff. And I think it's a bit of an overreaction. I think like if you have a donkey that's not grabbing flames, you're not or fire, you're not going to be racing it a lot more than what you were before. If you know maybe like one or two more races or five if you're really ambitious. But I think what it has done is it ends up teaching or it ends up kind of helping people race their horses in the right distances. And with odds, you didn't really have that. With odds, it was a lot more of a discovery process to figure out where your horse ran best because your placements can be so variable. Whereas with fire, you can kind of see pretty quickly like if your horse is going to perform well at a certain distance, or if that's the optimal distance to be running your horse at.
I think I agree with that in like the macro, but I still see cases of like, at least early on, and sometimes after, a handful of races that like the flames don't always match up with the performance. And I still think there are some outliers to that can be misleading for some people. So I guess my only concern is that people sometimes put too much faith in flames,
Yes.
or any stat or any metric as being like, this is the black and white switch. Like if I have this, boom, I'm good. If I don't have this, no, it's horrible. And I think like holistic evaluation is really important.
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, I see what you're saying. Like, I guess I'd have to see an example, but I think like over large samples, that typically like where you're getting fires is kind of it's where your horse is going to be strongest. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be successful there. So it's also very like dependent on the competition that you're running against.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I think that like, yeah, there are like a lot of factors that can play into it. Like, are you racing above class? Are you constantly racing against the same horses? So you may be getting flames, but you may be getting kind of like bumped off a little bit. Like I think that's a really good point that there's like a lot that plays into it. I guess, yeah, I don't love the idea of just chasing fire for the sake of chasing fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think like you touched on a good point there is that like I think one of the biggest things about fire being helpful to you to understand your horse is also understanding how the racing system works and like why you might be getting the results that you do. And I think that a lot of people don't really like dig into like how the racing system works and like why you get your results. And then that's why like fire can be misleading in those situations in the sense that like they expect certain things just because they have fire.
Yeah.
Whereas if they actually dug into the racing, they're like, oh, well, like, the reason that my horse is getting fire is because it's like it has very low variability, it has high base ability, so it's going to finish in the top three more likely than other horses. But because those other horses have higher variance or like more distance preference, they're going to finish in first and second a lot more than it's one of those things where you have to like combine different levels of understanding of the game to really get the best information from it.
100%, absolutely. A horse that I think is interesting, and we don't have to talk about it now necessarily, but is Suzie Q, Suzie space Q. 60.7% fire over 56 races. And it doesn't have a win, and I know fire's not associated with wins. But to me, the fire and the performance don't seem to quite match up. And I think that's a point where you need to start looking at things holistically to kind of what you were talking about, like what is the reasoning behind that.
So I can actually
SUZIEQ.
I can tell you exactly. Well, maybe not exactly what's going on here, but
Am I
most
spelling it
likely
correctly?
SUZIEQ.
Oh, okay.
Space Q. Yeah.
I think the most likely situation here, and this is something that David and I have talked about a lot, is something that fire did do is make it a lot harder to identify how strong your spikers are. So really high distance preference horses that have low variance, usually, they can end up, yeah, exactly, looking exactly like that. We have a horse like this. If you pull a Bloody Mary, Bloody Bloody space Mare, no dash E.
Okay.
I like the name.
Dash.
No, Bloody space Mare dash E. And I think this might be some kind of record for second places versus sample size, but this is so basically
It's interesting that
Oh yeah, similar.
it's interesting that both these horses don't finish first or 12th much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what comes with typically low variance horses that can run that have high distance preference is that if they're weaker than the other ones that have the same distance preference, they end up finishing basically either right behind them in the top three, or they'll finish above them in the bottom four or bottom three. So what Fire did is like it tells you that you have a horse that runs that is like consistently strong in that distance, but it doesn't tell you exactly how strong it is. So if you're running against other horses that are also stronger in that distance, you're going to keep getting like positive results, but you're not going to win because of the way. And we're actually going to kind of go into this on detail on Tuesday night. We're actually going to kind of explain how we believe the distance preference system works and why these results happen this way.
Interesting.
All right. So really fast, I'm gonna say one thing. It's something a lot of people don't know. I say this all the time. Everybody knows that knows me knows I'm like a Doofy fanboy. And so this is what Doofy would say: you have a profitable horse with this horse.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a huge profit, but you have a profitable horse with these type of horses. Keep racing it. Keep getting seconds and third. You're not losing money. In fact, you're gaining money.
Mm-hmm.
So like. Because we got tricked almost. Even the Zed, I think even the Zed people themselves got tricked themselves into first place is the only thing that matters. When the big thing that matters is, to me, is showing and placing as well. And so as long as you're not losing money, race the horse. And that goes for everybody who's watching at home on Twitch. If you have a horse that's constantly placing second, you're not losing money. If it's constantly placing second and third but not getting first, and you're getting second and third, if you're placing 30% of the time, placing is first or second, and either second and then you're showing another for even higher percentage, keep racing that horse. You're winning money, and the horse is actually very profitable. So not extremely profitable, which are the U-shaped horses that finish first and last most of the time, but you're pretty profitable. You're not losing money, and you're slowly gaining more and more ETH. You could use that ETH to fill out your stable. Me and MJ are going to have a video coming out sometime in the future where we're just talking about business strategies. It's not financial advice, business advice on how different forms that stables take. Stables can use to take profit. Holly last week from Greyborn Stable, she's in the chat. Shout out to Holly. She gave her strategy, which was she's just looking to make $25 a day.
Yeah, I watched that actually. And the only caveat I would add to what you were saying is that the biggest problem that comes with horses like that is that they end up moving themselves up into a class where they only finish in the middle. And so like you can run them profitably to a point, but then eventually they get stuck because they don't have the variance that allows them to drop back down in class, but they end up not being strong enough to keep continuing to get like second or third in the higher classes. So that's the only thing you need to kind of be careful about with horses like that.
Class
that is
management.
Well, that's true. Like I had a horse named Our Lady Cow for a long time. She was a solid. This is where Doofy told me on stream was keep racing the horse. And so I kept racing it. It was getting seconds, third, first, second. And then I figured out a bunch more of its distances, and I was able to keep it in between class 4 and 5. Unfortunately, I was in a pony plug tournament, got her up to class 3, and couldn't, and got to day 3 of the tournament, and was like, damn, I can't get her back down. Then I got her back down to like the beginning of class 4 and started racing her and keeping her profitable. That was my favorite horse, and she wasn't like a first place winner. She was more of a second place racer. But you know, that's you can it'll take a while. But with these free races and stamina, maybe you can get your horse out of. Because to me, class 3 and up is where like the best horses lie.
Mm-hmm.
I got a horse stuck in. I got 2 horses stuck in class 3 now. Exactly the problem you're talking about. I have one at like 75% stamina. She's still finishing 6th place.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah.
Well, that comes with what we were talking. Like, I think I remember MJ might have even been on this, or maybe this was the first one we did Pony Plug, but we were talking with ECS at the time, and we were saying like first off, like the first real step to find out if your racer is like quote unquote really strong is that jump from class 4 to class 5, because the jump from class 5 to class 4, like it's pretty close, but the jump from class 4 to class 3 is quite large, and
Yes.
the problem that you run into when you do get up into class 3 is that, you know, in an odds world, your odds jump quite a bit. And as we know, there's like a big association with winning with odds, but it's also a huge association with losing. So you're facing off against horses that have higher variance than you, so they're more likely to lose, and they're also more likely to win. So the only places that are left for you to kind of like finish are in the middle. And so what people kind of like wrongly believed before, that opening up higher classes to downclassing was like people would sandbag and like abuse it and all this stuff, and like to an extent they did, just because it gave those really high variance horses more race options. But taking a weak horse and trying to downclass it by racing it up in class 1 and class 2 doesn't really work, because you just end up finishing more in the middle. Sorry.
Chateau Zed, what do you think? Because you do have racers and David as well. Because I feel like it's going back and forth between the top 3, and you guys are here, and you guys are great minds in Zed. What do you believe is the balance, or the magic bullet, I guess, as far as for racing?
Man, that's tough. I'm not like I said earlier, I'm not a profitable racer really. I'm just trying to have fun. Like if you ever see me racing in class 3, I'm trying to lose because I have no business in class 3. Like Prius was stuck in class 3 for like 2 weeks, and he just kept like finishing 6th, or he won every once in a while. Yeah, I try. I've just recently I had a couple of horses that were like the spike horses, where their worst odds were 1,600 meters, but they were long distance racers. And so for the longest time, I was just wrecking these horses, thinking that 1,600 was the down button because it's the worst odds.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and now it's like freaking obvious. You just look at the stats, and it's obvious. You run them at 1,000 meters, you run them at 1,200. So I've got a couple of horses that I just was wrecking for months, and now I figured them out and fixing it. But yeah, I'm not the best person to give advice about racing.
I remember to pay attention to the streams, or not necessarily the streams. Just a shout out to everybody in the Zed community. We have to put more of our clips on YouTube. We just have to, especially you two, CJ and XYZed, or David, excuse me. You have to put more of your clips on YouTube to help somebody who's as well known as Chateau Zed with racing, because he had a super profitable horse.
Yeah, I was. It was a couple of interviews with Arbitrage, with Kevin from Arbitrage, that I saw. And then I looked into his horses. And I saw, like, obviously my horses aren't like Princess of Power level, but they're a similar profile. So it was just like, shit, I have been just ruining these horses.
I think that happens to everyone though. Like I when I first started in Zed, and like I always wanted to be a racer, so like racing was like my thing. And I mean, obviously I didn't have any good horses, but I think I was like negative 0.3 or 0.4 in ETH at one point early on. You know, it is a big learning process if you don't kind of like know what you're looking for.
Well, real fast, gotta thank Doofy for the raid.
Thanks, Doofy.
Shout out to Doof for the raid. I'm glad you missed what I just said. Hopefully nobody said anything. But yes, thank you guys for the raid. 25 viewers. I hope some horses got sold. And I see Donkey Teeth in the chat. Really fast. Sorry about this. Did you play for Boise State, Donkey Teeth? If you know about Donkey Teeth, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. People in chat. Back. Sorry, it's a Key and Peele skit. You got to look at it. East West Bowl game. Donkey Teeth played for the East. If you don't know about it, so really, sorry, I'm still laughing about that.
Do you want to shift gears, get to giveaway?
Yes, that sounds about right. But David didn't answer his strategy as well. Sorry,
David.
I'll start setting the giveaway.
I think I've only run about 15 races in the last month total. So I don't find the current racing environment fun. I don't think there's a lot of strategy involved right now. I mean, it's just kind of clicking on races and hoping you get in. So, I mean, a lot of times we'll talk about running 2 ups and 3 downs or trying to manage that 70% stamina mark. We've talked a little bit about flames and distance preference and kind of focusing on those races and, finding your up and down buttons. But really until they roll out stamina and, make it possible to race a little bit more each day, it's just, I struggle with it. So
is that the number one thing you want to come forward, like in the future of Zed? Like, is that your number one on your wish list of like all the things that Zed could do?
The stamina fix?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've already announced it, right? But the one thing that it's not clear that they're working on is race generation. I think those are 1 and 2.
Okay.
Just making sure that there are races for people to run, and that there are $2.50 races to run. There are $5 races to run consistently. I'm okay with those options being limited in the top classes to encourage people to enter into the higher buy-in races, but we'll go through hours at a time where there are no 250 races in class 4 or class 5, and I think that's just ridiculous. So
that's where it's needed.
Yeah, that has the product portal. I would hope that since there's 102 viewers, go to the product portal and ask them. This is another idea. It was split. Sorry, I keep bringing up Dan Chan. I know a lot of people don't like him, but me and him and a bunch of other people think that there shouldn't be more than a $10 race in Class 5 and maybe $15 in Class 4. Because if you're a Class 4 or Class 5 racer and you notice what's going on, those races take forever to get filled. And when 5 or 6, like 4 Class 4 races get put up, one's $25, one's $15, another one's $15, and another one's $25, and it's only generating one $2.50 or one $5 race at a time, you're going to be waiting forever for your distance. And so $10 isn't that bad. I know there's a lot of people in Class 4 that will race for $10, but we don't need a 10, a 15, a 25, and a 10, and another 10 all being populated at the same time, because people are going to just sit back and wait for their price. Even in Class 5, you shouldn't. Like, if you have a horse at Class 5, you shouldn't even be allowed to, because you can race higher up. If you want to race for a higher foal, go up into Class 5 or go up into Class 3, because you have a horse that's probably capable of racing that high. You just downclass it that low. And so it's just taking the incentive away from people to completely tank their horse to get down to race against weaker horses as well, because the monetary incentive isn't there as well. That's the other flip side to it. And the people who want to race their donkeys, for lack of a better term, at the lower class for a lower buy-in, let us continue to be able to race, because I find myself waiting. Like, I have one Class 5 horse that's capable of winning at 1,400 meters, but I won't race her for more than $5, and I've waited over 2 hours to race for a 1,400 meter $5 or $2.50 race to pop up, and that's to David's point. That's too long to be waiting.
Yeah, but So the way that I look at that is that you don't have to do away with higher buy-ins to fix racing generation in that sense. They just need to populate more $2.50 and $5 races.
Well,
Like I think that you can have, let us decide where we want to race in terms of like the buy-in. Like if they want to have a $20 buy-in and nobody and it takes 10 hours to fill, then it takes 10 hours to fill, and those are the people that are waiting for that, right? But
yes.
if you add more $2.50 races, which they're completely capable of doing. That's the thing is that we've talked to like a couple of guys that are programmers and stuff, and like they said, like if they took a day to really like look at it from an engineering perspective, it would take them like maybe a day to fix the race generation issue. They just aren't doing it.
That may be true. That may not be true. I know it only generates like 5 or 6 races at a time, just from because I've watched. I I've stared at the entire Zed thing, and I don't know everything that they're doing. I know they built their game engine from scratch as well, which is a huge undertaking in and of itself. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's only generating a certain amount of races. So they would have to go back in and probably um, fix something down at the root level or the foundational level, and then it would spread upwards. And from being a game designer myself, when you start messing with something at the root level or the foundational level, which is the race generation algorithm itself, you're going to get bugs when you go back up. So that it may not be as simple as any us from the outside or looking in will see. Sorry, my teeth fell out. Lost my car accident.
All good.
But yeah. So I'm just saying, whatever's in there for specific classes, I know that runs on a database. Just pull certain numbers out completely so that it doesn't even generate them, and that won't mess up your algorithm going upward. That's an easier solution than actually going down and telling the algorithm to generate more races.
I think it needs to change, though. I mean,
I do as well.
it's been
But
broken since April. We've complained about it since April. They've done
I mean,
nothing.
Yeah.
I get the concern about changing at the root level, but for the
Yes.
game to grow and for racing to be funner again,
Mhm.
it something needs to change, right? So
Agreed.
maybe it is trimming down the buy-ins to your point, Golden Glow.
Mhm.
Maybe that's a kind of short-term fix, but I at some point I feel like they're going to need to bite the bullet, and
Yes.
they've rolled out major changes without really telling us before. So,
Yeah.
Well,
I
just
think this is a
imagine.
major change that they need to make. Yeah,
Just imagine though, December of last year when the Great Reset happened, there were only 2 classes. So
I didn't
could
realize
you
that.
imagine how hard it would be right now to
Jeez.
race if there were 2 classes?
Jeez.
I think
Right.
they should have 10. Theoretically speaking, at the rate it's growing, we should have. When they did the update, they should have just made it 10 classes as well. That would have probably we wouldn't have so many issues with the market and with finding races and things of that nature if there were 10 classes. And I think expanding the classes is a little bit easier than changing the race generation algorithm. Just from outside looking in.
Yeah.
Not to get sidetracked though, I'm going to bring up the horse that Chateau Zed is giving away. We could continue
Right.
the conversation.
Is it an offspring of the duck?
It's not. No, I'm keeping those.
Those are under lock and key.
It's an offspring of Jeff Bezos. So that's cool.
Love the name.
That's
Yeah,
even better.
so it might be good. It's like Jeff Bezos has a few races he won once, and then the mother has only 2 races and got fired one time. So there might be something there. It's a rare coat.
Yeah, it's a goldenrod rare coat.
Yeah, so
by
it's
Chateaux
something,
Zed.
something better than nothing, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a good horse. We just don't know what we got. I received the horse too. That was a Z39. Give me 1 second. Pull this over. And, oops. I'm showing
Chateau, are
my-
you Welsh?
everything behind the scenes.
No, maybe at some point down the line, but I don't know. What I'm just
Oh,
I
I
did
saw-
the 20. I did the 23andMe, and I had like 97 different things. So I don't know what I am.
I saw Cambria.
All right.
No, just a
Type-
fan of the band.
Type exclamation point raffle to join the giveaway. It's going to be 5 minutes. Starting now.
All right,
Wow.
good luck.
Good luck. And so
Good luck
I'll
with
go
the
into
horse
a
more
little
so.
bit more.
Hopefully it doesn't suck.
This is the horse's mother. It's a legendary mare that comes from two Z10 Genesises that haven't. One's been raced, one hasn't. Her sister, or no, his brother, because it's unnamed. So he's giving away an unnamed, a triple U horse as well. For the record, people, it's a triple U. Um, Type in exclamation point raffle to join the giveaway. Shout out to Chateaux Zed, one of the OGs for me at least, as far as watching content for
I'm like
being
a
kind enough to
mid.
give away a horse.
There's tiers of OGs, and there's plenty of tiers before me, but
Well,
yeah,
you're
been
all
around.
right. I broke
Feels
down.
like years, but
I broke down the generations. Right. It's generation one is guys like Heroin. Shout out to Heroin who's in the chat. Bob the Nailer and Lucky Jack, of course. That's tier one. Those were people who were around before racing. Tier two is the Doopies and the Poseidons, the ZGs, and the Dr. Ians. They're around like November, December of last year. And tier three is people like yourself, the Zooks, the Doughboys, people who came in before the Matic change.
I'll take it. That's good company.
Yes. And then people like myself who came in like the Terror Drop, and then people who came in Echo Drop, $1 Million Drop, and beyond.
So you're saying that we're class 5 streamers?
You came before the Echo Drop, right?
Yeah, but I was Teardrop, I think.
Yeah, so was I. You came in with me.
Yeah, but you said tier 4 was before that, right? So class 5 is what we
no, we're tier 4. We're tier 4. Chateau Zed and Zook and Doughboy are tier 3.
Got it.
We're tier what? 3, yeah. Or tier 4.
Hey, we're all here. That's all that matters.
Yeah, we're all here.
Exactly. We're all one happy family.
One happy Zed family is correct.
A stable.
So I'm gonna stop sharing this screen and then come back over here to you guys and ask, do any of you have any superstitions for racing? Like, do you wear see how I got the East Coast hat? Got my Poseidon hat. Any superstitions for racings before you join races?
I used to only enter gate 7 for a long time.
Me too.
So, but now it's just trying to get into races, so I'm less picky.
Is 7 your favorite number?
Huh?
7 a favorite number, or is that just what you gravitated towards?
No, just middle of the middle gate. Seemed to be empty most of the time, so I don't know. My favorite number is not a gate number, so it's just a random choice, I guess, from day one. But
I like it. What you
the Echo not drop. Okay,
Oops. So I don't really have much of a superstition. I try and put my horses in like gate 11 or 12 because for production value. Because if I'm doing recording a race for my YouTube video or whatever, I want my horse to be right in the front, which is silly. And then also back in the day, Psyduck used to always race in gate 12, and he would just terrorize Toyota Prius. So I would always try and get Prius in gate 12 so that I would just kind of throw Psyduck off a little bit. Never worked, but so yeah, I try and get into the 10, 11, 12 gates just because my horse is right up front. I like to see him.
I like it.
That's great.
Like
I know. I see
CJ?
Glue Racing Lacey in there. She was the first person I knew who was racing in gate 12 all the time. And then a while ago, MJ released some information where he said, if you want to get in a race, try gate 12 or gate 1. They're the last pick gates. So you're more likely to get in there.
I think that's changed completely since, but not because of me, but
yeah,
I use gate 1 all the time now. That's the first one I try to get into. But superstition wise, so David can kind of confirm this, but when I got my first profitable racer, and I worked really hard to get her, her name's Sovereign Edge,
I seen that.
and I was convinced that she took weekends off because I would run her all week, and she would be like profitable. I'd be like flying high because she was like winning and losing, like just doing perfect stuff. And then I would hit the weekend, and it was just like lose, like every race. And I was just like, what is going on? And it happened like 3 weeks in a row, and I was convinced. I was like, this horse just like it just doesn't like weekends. I'm just not going to race her on weekends. But I think like besides that, I don't really have any superstitions. Like I like gate 9, but I try to just get into as many races as possible. So gate 1 is the one is my go-to now.
Yeah, I had a similar thing where I thought that Toyota Prius was a night racer. I was like, man, like the later at night it gets, like this dude just starts winning races. Like, what the hell is going on? But then I just realized that like it's I'm on the west coast of the United States, so East Coast people go to sleep, and then like Australians aren't awake yet. So there's like a little golden hour there late at night for me where racing's just a little bit easier.
The Australians are actually awake.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say
It's
the Australians wake up so I can beat all the Australians, but not
Yeah, you're just beating on them. Here, I'm going to pick the winner. And Zania.
Zania, are you here, Zania?
All right.
Let's see if she's here. If not, I'll do a faster countdown. But
Zania, are you in chat?
Congratulations, Zania, as well.
Awesome.
Come on.
It was only 5 minutes ago. You had
Zania's here. Let's
Hey,
go.
all right.
All right.
Congrats.
Zania, I'm going to send you a direct message. And then to get your wallet address, and then I'll send it to
Let's go.
To Chateau. Excuse me.
That's
Unless
awesome.
you want to say, if you're in the chat, Chateau, then you can send her a whisper.
Yeah, either way. Connect with one of us, Zania.
All right.
We'll get you that horse.
Awesome.
All right, and I forgot.
First horse, even better. Yes.
Oh, that's sweet.
Amazing.
Congratulations.
Hell yeah!
That's
Horse in the
huge.
chat if you got him for Zania. It's her first horse.
That is huge. Extra congrats is right. First horse,
Nice.
horse alert. Sound the alarm.
Amazing.
That's what we like to see.
Yeah. Now just don't race it twice and then sell it to Danshin.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we make a deal? Like, if you're going to sell this horse, I think MJ wants it.
Well, if it's not named MJ.
If it's
so.
good.
If it's a beast, yeah.
Name
If
it
it's a
MJ.
beast and you start getting
Sell it to
offers,
MJ.
just keep racing it.
If you name it MJ and you want to sell it, please reach out to me.
But okay, so then now I'm gonna bring up my stable because that's where I have it. The second giveaway of the evening is courtesy of Lucky Jack the OG, who gave us Jack Finn Gamma, a Z10 Legendary Finny.
Nice. Thank you, LJ. Thank you, Pony Plug. Big
Yes.
shout out.
Shout out to the Pony Plug. Let me share my screen.
Am I allowed to enter this? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, you can. I entered last week.
I mean, could always use a Z10 Legendary. But...
Exactly. Hello.
I wouldn't be afraid to breed that legendary. I feel like I know so much better how to handle that.
Right.
And so this is the horse.
Chartreuse.
And it's a chartreuse.
And it's a filly. Let's
And
go.
a filly. And so
dang.
I'm going to start the raffle right now. It's a 5-minute wait. Here goes the raffle. It started, exclamation point raffle.
Golden Glow, rig it so I get 10 extra tickets when I enter.
I can't rig I can't do anything to rig it. I wish I could. I'm entering myself. You're gonna see my name pop up in a second. There we go. See? And so, yes. And so, I did say there's a big announcement for the community. Myself, MJ, Doofy, the whole entire Pony Plug, Sean Versall, Chateau Zed, who's in the bottom right corner, Eric Wong, Heroin, Zombie. We've all got together to try to crack breeding by staging a Breeders' Cup. The event will take place December 2nd, which is the first anniversary of racing as we know it on the Zed platform. And there will be a tiered entry. We'll slowly start releasing the news and how much it's going to cost. But there's going to be an event for legendary Buterins, Nakamotos, Zabos, Finnies, and exclusive Nakamotos, Zabos, Finnies, and Buterins. And they're all going to be put in separate tournaments. And then the winners of each bloodline will face off. Whether the legendary Butte will face the exclusive Butte tournament winner, and vice versa down to each bloodline. And then there's going to also be an elite or lower tournament that it will feature anybody who's bred an elite. The key rule to everything is you have to own the mare that has bred the foal. That's the only rule. You have had to have actually bred the horse. And so if you have friends and whatnot, make sure you form coalitions or breeding deals or anything else to make sure that you can breed with the stud that you want. It's open to exclusives, legendaries, and elites or lowers. The elite or lower, they're not going to be separated by bloodline. They're all just going to be racing in a field. And so it's a tiered buy-in. I'll slowly start releasing the details for how much the buy-in is and how little the buy-in, because we tiered it for like legendary Nakamoto's. The most you're going to pay to get in for a Z2 Nakamoto into the tournament is $150. For an elite or lower, it's going to be $30. So it's tiered. $25 differences. Like an exclusive Nakamoto, it will be I think of $115, and then it goes down to Buterin, and it tears all the way down between the bloodlines, because we figure that it's highly likely that Z2 Nakamoto may win the whole thing. That's highly likely, but it's a lot of races because the tournaments will take place in a 2-week time frame, or excuse me, a 17-day time frame from December 2nd of this year to December 19th. And so figure out breeding. Let's do it. The thing
it's
is,
gonna be
though,
really cool.
the thing is, as well as you can't have raced your horse more than 10 times. Those are the only two rules for the entire tournament. Is you have had to have bred your horse, and you can't have raced your horse more than 10 times maximum before you enter the horse in the tournament. Though, other than that, you let the games begin. If you see a pattern, you see a horse that you want to breed with, till you get it down to the elite level, you have 2 months to go from legendary to elite. Or even if you have a Genesis, you can breed it. A Genesis mare, you can breed it with an exclusive male to get an elite. Like, there's so many combinations to get an elite. So within two breed cycles, maybe even 3 for some people that are still here. But the signups will start November 1st, or the mint will start November 1st, and there's going to be some airdrop to everybody who mint something as well. Something that nobody in the Zed community has, so it'll be an NFT. That'll be dope. I'll slowly release that. Even the rest of my partners, or the rest of the people that have helped make this event what it is, don't even know what I'm going to airdrop at this in particular juncture.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Nobody knows, but it's going to be something valuable besides a token. You get a token, and you use your token to mint something else.
Ooh.
On the Matic network. So
Thank you. Appreciate
let
that.
the games begin. Make sure you try to form patterns, and make sure if you want to get into the Breeders' Cup, it's the first annual. Lucky Jack's also going to give out horses. He said, Lucky Jack loves to give away things for winners. You're going to get a crown for different events that you win within this. It's only 2 weeks, and it's one token per tournament, or per horse entry. You can enter as many as you want. Details will be upcoming by all of the people all of the content creators participating in promoting the tournament, though. And it's
Bravo.
85.
Well done,
We're only taking 15% of the rake, and 85% is going back into the prize pools.
Nice.
So some people have issues with people taking higher rakes or lower rakes or whatever. We're only taking a small 15% to split amongst 13 content creating teams. So that shouldn't be that much, I guess. Oh, let me stop sharing. And the giveaway is over. It says pick winner Jamoshi. Jamoish has won.
All right.
J-Mo.
Congratulations, Jamoish.
Congrats.
Congrats.
Oh, Lacey's also in the as well promoting. There's a lot. What do you guys think about the Breeders' Cup? At Chateau, you already had you already seen everything, but what about you, CJ and David?
In chat.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I'm all for like these tournaments, like community run, things that people can participate in. Just to like add a little bit more to Zed in terms of the community interaction, different challenges, because obviously like Zed is still in its infancy and like you just have basically like straight racing all the time. So being able to add like different challenges to the racing and to breeding in this case. I think it's great. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I will definitely be participating with my very small stable of breeders. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'm glad you guys are putting it together, and looking forward to learning more about it for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll piggyback real quick and just say that it's it's fantastic. I'm glad you're giving us way too much credit too, Golden Glow. Like this was mostly you putting it together. We just asked for some input, so we're happy to help out. But great work, man.
Thank you. No, it's not. I was only going to do an elite tournament. Everybody else, it's not. Everybody's giving me more credit on the low, like in the conversations than I'm getting. But no, I took a lot of feedback. I expanded the tournament. I kept talking, kept asking questions to make it more of a Breeders' Cup, because I was just thinking of just elites. Everybody gets to breed an elite. We throw them in the tournament. No races. Griffin, boom. And so it's formed to, there's a lot more rules and stuff like that to make it fair and to make it bigger and more prestigious. Got to shout out Lucky Jack and Ted Lasso, a.k.a. I'm not going to say a.k.a. because I gave somebody government out. Got to shout out one of our friends as well and for making everything what it is. It's a good thing we're trying to put on. Yes. I've seen that in our MJ. Where we at? Cool. I gotta send this.
Awesome. Congratulations, our winners tonight. That is super exciting. We're creeping up on 2 hours. Golden Glow, any other questions you have before we sign off? Anything
no, I'm just waiting for Jamoshi to send me her wallet address.
Chateau David.
I whispered, please send me your wallet address, Jamosh.
Is this one you posted here, Golden Glow? Is this the?
Yeah, that's the one for you.
Nina? Okay, yes. Cool, awesome.
No, don't make me your hero, Jamoish. Make Lucky Jack your hero, not me. Lucky Jack and the Pony Plug. If you haven't subscribed to them, they're on every Tuesday and Friday. They used to be on Wednesdays. Do you know who I am on Discord? Because I'm not Golden Glow on Discord. I have too many damn names. Sorry to read the chat. But we are going to raid the Naruto racing as well.
Yeah. Any other final comments, questions that you guys had before we wrap it up? All good. All right.
Not much. No.
Thanks for. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chateau.
Just gonna say the same thing. And thanks for having us on. You guys follow me on Twitter. I got a jockey club I'm putting together. Zed Jockey Club on Twitter. We're doing our first tournament in a couple weeks. That might be a total disaster, but you guys all get to watch and see. So it should be fun.
I can't.
MJ is involved. We got a few. We're doing a fantasy draft with the tournament horses, and it's going to be live streamed on Sunday, like a week from today. Next Sunday morning, we're doing a fantasy draft for horses, which like I said, it might be a total train wreck. We'll see, but
No,
should
it
be
sounds
fun.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks guys for having us on. Everybody, if you want to check out CJ and my stuff, we're XYZed Run on Twitch and Twitter. Not sorry, a little shameless plug in there, but
No, do it.
Do
but
it.
no,
Oh, quick question: do either of you have merch? And I'm
Yeah.
counting XYZ as one individual, and Chateau Zed as one individual.
Working on it.
I have merch. I haven't made merch for like other people. We have some designs. We're working on some things, but haven't. It's one of these days. I'll have some merch available. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, we're in
Well,
the same boat.
I would say get your XYZ symbol looks great. The one for Twitter. So I would say make some merch around that. Holla at Zed Retro Racing because he had the swag shop. That's where I got my East Coast Stables one because he'll get it. He'll just let you put the design and then he'll do everything else, like basically drop shipping. But you still have a great logo.
I think I talked to him earlier this week, and I was going to say that we were going to reach out because, yeah, like you said, we really like the logo that was designed for us. So, it'd be cool to have it on like a hat or something.
Yeah.
Sweater maybe. But yeah, no, thank you so much for having us on. It was a lot of fun. I was, I could do this every day and like talk to people about Zed. It's such a fun topic and fun game, and it's always nice to reach out to more people to kind of like see different perspectives. So yeah, really appreciate you guys having us on.
Thank you. All right, the raid is starting now.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
All
Thanks a
right.
lot.
Take
10
care.
seconds. Thank you guys as well.
Yeah. Been fun.
All right, it should be raiding in 1 second. Raid
All right.
now.
Here we go.
All right, they can't see us anymore. We are no longer live.
All right.
Thank you guys
Here
for
we
appearing
go.
on our show.
Yeah.